So guys, today is a little bit different just because I suppose as a long distance swimmer, so often my training is just miles distance and quite a lot of donuts, if I'm being completely honest. Whereas that can get not only tedious, but the body, it just needs a different training stimulus. So I'm almost doing a reverse form of periodization where I found myself in a bit of a training block where I'm emphasizing strength, speed, and power, all in the hope that by becoming a faster athlete, it will help me to swim further later. The idea around that is almost that neurological efficiency that you're improving, whether it's running or swimming, you're actually improving swim stroke, running stride, and technique. So your top speed means that your cruising speed is just that much quicker. Huge shout out as well to Cam McAvoy, fastest swimmer in the world right now. Absolutely smoked the world championships, 50-meter freestyle, but then also massive shout out to my hero of mentor as well, Linford Christie. So I used to go down to Brunel University, train with Linford Christie as well. So a lot of the principles that I'm going to talk about here about plyometric training, force velocity curve and rate of force development, don't worry if you don't know what those mean, I'm going to explain them when we get in there, I owe to those geniuses, both in swimming and sprinting. So with all of that said, I'm gonna go and smash some caffeine, and then me and Ben, we're gonna go and throw some weights around.
Yes, we are.
I've got the kids step, like a booster seat essentially, because I'm like a swimmer, but just much smaller. So what's going on right now is I always start off with brachiating, passive active hangs. Whole reason being, I always talk about this, I always talk about shoulder health. Just basically putting the shoulder joint where nature intended. We share a shoulder joint with the great apes. They're hanging all day. We're sat there working at a computer, so it's great for shoulder health. However, by going so heavy on this as well, what I'm essentially doing is almost, if you reverse engineer and deconstruct a pull-up, that's obviously the bottom part, that concentric part of the movement. And before you start going heavy, or like today, that we're actually moving at speed, it's just really good to make sure that everything from the scapula, the shoulder blades, everything is in the correct position before you generate force. So it's a form of neural priming, just getting the central nervous system, everything, joints working cohesively together before we actually start to lift any serious weight or move at any serious pace. That's the theory, anyway.
3, 2, and go.
Okay, so first concept is rate of force development. Pretty self-explanatory, just means your body's ability to generate force as fast as possible. Basically, if you had two athletes, both can deadlift 200 kilos, but one has a faster rate of force development, that means that they can generate force, they can lift that 200 kilos faster and lock out. So they're not fatiguing ATP, adenosine triphosphate, they're not there locking out the molecular energy of the muscles, they lock out before they fatigue. And I think it's so often overlooked. People just look at strength, your body's ability to generate force, without actually looking at the rate at which they develop it. And that is key for speed workouts. That's why every single rep you'll see me doing today, starting with the pull-ups, you do them as fast as possible, because it's not just about the actual force that you generate, it's how rapidly you generate it. With that said, this is hopefully, now with a neurally primed back, going to be a very fast pull-up. I say fast, lower your expectations.
Medium fast.
Medium fast. I also like to use grip a lot just because I'm training to be a fast swimmer, not a rock climber. So when people say, why do you always use straps? I'm like, I don't want that to be the limiting factor in the pull-up. So this next exercise probably needs explaining a little bit. So what we're going to be doing is really focusing on the concentric part of the lift, concentric just means the upward phase, basically powerful concentric, boom, lats at the top, and then what Ben's gonna do is pull this towards the back, pull the band to force an eccentric. Eccentric contraction just basically means that the muscles, the lats in this particular case, are in tension, but they are lengthening. And what's interesting, you can always obviously lower more weight than you can concentrically lift. So this is a great way to actually just overload the body, just like provide a very powerful sort of stimulus to the body. And then on that note, I think it's important to stress, don't use these kind of like every session, all day, every day, because it puts a lot of stress on your central nervous system. So it's a really powerful tool focusing on the eccentric contractions, but it's knowing when to use them. Now, with all of that said, we posted this on social media before, didn't we, Ben? And that's why this needed explaining.
Nuts, and it had a load of questions.
It did. So hopefully that answers them. And then also as well, you have to trust your partner not to let go of the band.
Or sit on your head.
I know I trust Ben, but I think the fact is I'm going first and then his sets afterwards. So if he was to do anything to me, I would.
You'll get me back. Brilliant, thanks.
So choose your partner carefully.
But I will get your step out of the way when
Probably what, 3, 4?
Yeah, just really nice, powerful, real slow eccentric. Good. Oh. Okay, pull up. Ooh, and resist. That's it. Nice. Go. And up. Ooh. Resist. One more. Oh.
That was perfect.
3. That's how you have to think. Rather than that. Explosive.
Okay, when it comes to speed training, it's not just what you lift, it's how you lift it. And to explain that, here is the force velocity curve really badly drawn on a board by myself. So what I mean here, force velocity curve is very simple. This axis, you've got force, this axis, you have velocity. Basically, the weight that you lift, the speed at which you lift it. At the top here, you've got max strength. So this is just your kind of like 3 to 1 rep max. And obviously when you're lifting really heavy, let's take a deadlift for example, force is going to be really high. So weight is really high, but speed is probably low. If you can imagine, they're just grinding out a rep, up, lots of force, not much speed. And then down here, you kind of got your plyometric jumps, your velocity sprints, ballistic work, plyometric work, where there's not a lot of force, not much weight, but there's a lot of speed. And that is basically the relationship between the two, force and velocity, hence the curve. Now, in between, you can also have strength, speed, you have speed, strength, and peak power. I'm not going to confuse things because that's a whole other vlog. What I want people to take away from this, though, is when you are in the gym and you are doing speed training or strength training, learn to play around with this curve. That's why you'll see for a lot of the workouts for today, some of them exist here, some of them exist here, or anywhere along the force velocity curve. Thank you for listening. We are now going to finish up with some very powerful concentric contractions. Concentric, like I said, is basically where the muscle is in tension, but it is shortening. And the reason I like to finish on these as well is just because, as I explained, eccentric contractions are amazing, but they do stress the central nervous system. Recovery has to be on point and everything. Whereas now what we're going to be doing is concentric contractions, which are much kinder on the central nervous system. Don't necessarily just like completely fry the adrenal gland as well. So as with this entire workout, we're never getting out of breath. It's fast and it's powerful. Ben, you made that very good point that it feels a little bit weird today because certainly Ben's been doing a lot of some more like hypertrophy type workouts where you are just burning out, getting a pump, there's metabolic stress, there's a lot of volume, whereas it, certainly for an endurance athlete and also for Ben who is going through a sort of power building phase.
Yeah, kind of. Let's call it that. Yeah.
This feels counterintuitive. It feels very weird. But I always remember actually when I was sprinting with Linford Christie, and I would always be like, I can do more. And Linford would just go home, Ross, because you're drilling bad technique right now. Just go home. It's no longer fast and powerful. So for a speed workout, if the reps are no longer fast and powerful, go home. Go home. Good.
Smooth.
That's a good weight, I think. Easy. It's a cheeky weight.
Oh no.
No, it's cheeky. It's not bad, it's cheeky. Ah, yes!
Oh no! That's exactly it. I lost it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But it's that, isn't it?
Oh.
That is done. Speed work done. I was just saying, it feels a little bit weird. It feels a bit counterintuitive. Obviously, as a endurance athlete, I'm so used to just being in here for hours, suffering, volume, miles. So it feels really weird just trying to keep everything really punchy, short, lots of rest. But that is the nature of speed work. So I hope you've kind of picked up a few things from it. I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm hoping this training block means that by swimming faster, I can swim further next year. And then stay tuned because this afternoon, me and Ben, we're gonna have some pizza, burgers, and then do lower body plyometric speed work.